Hey guys, you know who this is? It's Mr. Morrow with another edition of Morrow Teaches Online. So, hopefully statistics has been going well, and we're going to see if you understood the first half of Chapter 9. So here we go. So first of all, we talked about qualitative and quantitative. The trick was quantitative has an N. Think of N for numbers. 99% of the time, if it's talking about numbers, it's quantitative. If it's talking about non-numbers, then it's qualitative. So favorite actor, unless your favorite actor is named 9, it's probably qualitative. For grades on a science test, think about it. Could you find the average of that? Yes, so then it's quantitative because it involves numbers. Hours spent watching television, could I find the average time? Yes, you can, so it's quantitative. Okay? Number 2, seventh grade students were asked to name their favorite subject. To best describe the favorite. So if I said, hey, what's your favorite ice cream? And I took a survey and I said, oh, chocolate appeared the most, which word would mean that? Mode. So anytime you see the word favorite, think most, and most is mode. Okay? So for number 3, why can't I see the bottom? Okay, so for mean, median, and mode, I always like to do this on the side. Mean, and of course you're not going to write mean, median, and mode. Now remember, you can always use your calculator as much as you want. You can go to step, but since there's only 5 numbers, that's not too hard. Let's do the easiest ones first. Mode, 85 appeared the most, so 85 is the mode. Median, first check to see if they're in order. They are in order, and this one is in the middle, so median is 85. For the mean, you just need to add, and when you add them up, you get 435. And since there are 5 numbers, you divide, and when you divide, you get 87. Now, if you notice, we wrote the numbers above all the words. It really helps. So now you just got to ask yourself, is 85 bigger than 87? No. Is 85 less than 87? Yes. Is 85 bigger than 85? No. Is 85 less than 85? No. And again, it helps because you put the words on top. Okay. For number 4, there's a lot more numbers, and here's how you know you should use your calculator. If it ever asks for standard deviation, if you remember that lesson, that requires way too much work to do. You would have to make that whole chart. So this is an example where you should type in it. So you go to your calculator. Remember, this whole graded assignment, this whole chapter is about the statistics button. So if you press stat, you go to edit. Now I have numbers in both columns. If you go up to L2, press clear. Come on, press clear. There we go. And you go down, it disappears. You go over, you go up to L1, you press clear. And you go back down, and it's good. So now you're going to type in the numbers. To make this go faster, I'll just type it in, and it will appear when we start the video again. Okay, so you can see they magically appeared. So you don't need to put these numbers in order, but just make sure you type it, because remember, type it correctly, because if you don't type it correctly, it can't calculate it correctly. So you should always double check that you typed the numbers correctly. Sometimes you forget a number. And again, if there's 11 numbers here, you better make sure there's 11 numbers there, and there are. So that's good. So remember, you're done editing, so you press stat. Now you go over to the right and press calc, and number 1 var stats. Now remember, if you have this picture, frequency list, the second line, frec list, should be empty. If it's not empty, press delete if it's not. And now you press calculate, and there it is. The things you need for the top line has an X with a line on top. That's your mean. Now if you read the question, it says round to the nearest whole number. So 37.8. That 8 tells you to round the 37 to 38. Okay? The next one says median. If you go all the way to the bottom when we did box and whisker, med. It says med, 37. So you're going to write that. The mode, you cannot do the mode on the calculator, but no number appeared more than the other. So you write no mode, or you could have written none. The outlier, is there a number up here that's nowhere near the others? The answer is 5. 5 is not anywhere near the others. The range is just the biggest number minus the smallest one, 56. Now, standard deviation, it's the one that kind of looks like the word ox. This is a lowercase sigma. So if you look on your calculator, if you go back up, do you see how it says something that looks like ox? Now it says 15.01. Now it says round these to the nearest tenth. If you just wrote 15, that's fine. But if they tell you to round to the nearest tenth, usually, even if it's a 0, if it says to the nearest tenth, you're really supposed to put a number in the tenths, but you would not lose points for that. So there it is. Okay, so this one, mean, median, and standard deviation can all be done on the calculator. The other 3, you need to know that. Okay. What's that? Yep. All right. So number 5, the mean of 5 test scores is 90. So here's the trick. They tell you how many tests you take. So do 5 times whatever you want the average to be. So 5 times 90 is 450. And again, my stylus is being all mean. Okay, so 5 times 90 is 450. Now, they tell you, well, you're going to take 5 tests in all. Well, on the first 4 tests, you got this. So when you add up those 4 tests, you get 355. So when you add up those tests, you get 355. So to figure out what you need to get on that last test, all you have to do is subtract. So 450 minus 355 is 95. So you need to have a 95 on that last test. Now, how could you prove you're right? If you type in this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus that, and you divide by 5, guess what your average is? A 90. So there it is. Okay, tell if each sequence is geometric, arithmetic, or neither. Remember, arithmetic starts with an A. So if you're adding or subtracting to get to the next number, it's arithmetic. For geometric, if you're multiplying, and technically you're only multiplying, but if you're multiplying or dividing, it's geometric. And if it's not going by the same number, then it's neither. So for A, how do you get from 5 to 10? Well, you could multiply by 2, but is 10 times 2 15? No. So what is it? You're adding 5. You're adding 5. You're adding 5. You're adding 5. You should always do it for all of them, because sometimes the last one could be like add 5, add 5, add 5, add 6. And then it's not, it's neither. So it's arithmetic. You didn't need to write the add 5 part. We're just showing you why. For B, you could add 4, but is 8 plus 4 16? No, so that doesn't work. But if you multiply by 2, it does work. So it's geometric. And for this one, if it's going from positive to negative, positive to negative, positive, then that's telling you you're multiplying by a negative. So how do you get from 3 to 9? Multiply by 3. But it's not 3 because you're switching the sign. So it's multiplying by negative 3. Multiply by negative 3. But since it's a constant number, then we say it's geometric since you're multiplying. Number 7. Again, anything about a box and whisker, I would just type it in. You could do it by hand, but why when you have a calculator? So here we go. You're going to go to your calculator. You're going to go to stat. You're going to go to edit. I see numbers. Go up to L1, press clear, go back down. Again, I'm going to just type it in and they'll magically appear. And voila, they appeared. So you see how it says my 9th number is 85. Again, you should always check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good. I typed them in. And again, please always double check what you typed is actually what it says. So I typed them all in. Again, they don't have to be in order. Okay, I'm done editing. Go to stat. Go to calc. Go to 1var stats. Again, that frequency list line needs to be empty. Press calculate. Hey, I don't see any of my box and whisker numbers. That's because you need to go all the way to the bottom. There's your box and whisker numbers. Now make sure you copy correctly. Now it goes from minimum to maximum. If you look at the sheet, is that first word minimum? No, so make sure you write them in the correct spots. So all you have to do is just copy those 5 numbers in the right spots. So we copied the number in the right spots. Now it says create a box and whisker. So you draw a number line. So since it starts at 55, personally, I would have just gone by 5s. But, I mean, yeah, let's put in the 5s, just because it will make this look much nicer. 75. I like to go by 5s unless it's so tiny that you can go by 1s or 2s. Okay, so here we go. So you're just going to make a dots where you see those 5 numbers. So 85, 65, 90.5 is about right there, 55, and 100. And here we go. You connect the first 2 dots. You connect the last 2 dots. You draw a box so that there's a dot inside your box, and then draw a line through that dot. And there's a beautiful box and whisker. Okay, in order to improve marketing efforts, a new cellular service provider is gathering data on monthly cell phone usage by high school students. This box and whisker plot shows the results. The second you get a box and whisker, I would label it. Label the heck out of it. The first dot, and if you ever forget the order, your calculator would tell you the order. This is the min. The next dot is the first quartile, then the median, then the third quartile, and then the max. And remember, each section is 25%. I would always label it. It will help you. 25%, 25%, 25%. So now everything should be pretty easy. What was the median score? Look for where you wrote med. There it is, 700. So you just copy whatever you just labeled. First quartile, look for Q1, 500. Q3, 800. Minimum 200, maximum 900. It's easy once when you label it. Now it says, well, what percent is between 500 and 800? So between 500 and 800, well, what percent is that? Well, I see 2 25s. 25 plus 25 is 50%, and that's why the answer is 50%. And again, it makes it much easier when you label it. The next one says, what percent of students use less than 800? So go to 800, there's 800, and say what's less than that. What percent is less than that? So how many 25s do you see on that side? 1, 2, 3. Well, there's 3 of them, so that must be 75%. And there's your answer. Number 9, again, I see a box and whisker. I'm going to label the heck out of it. Again, this will just help you. Minimum, Q1, median, Q3, max, and 25%, 25%, 25%. Come on. And 25%. How original. Okay. So it says, what's the median or second quartile? Look where you wrote med. And there it is. It says 20 under med. So there it is. What is the range? Now, the biggest mistake we see is that you guys go, oh, it's 29 minus 11. That's wrong. Don't look at the number line. Look at where the dots are. The max minus the min. 28 minus 12 is 16. And that's why that's the answer. First quartile, look for Q1. There it is. It's 17. What's the third quartile? Look for Q3, and it says 23. Now it says, hey, what's the interquartile range, also known as the IQR? Well, think about it. It's not the range. It's the interquartile range, meaning using the quartiles. So all it means is the third quartile minus the first quartile. Well, what's the third quartile? 23. What's the first quartile? 17. When you subtract, you get 6. Now it says, what word best describes the shape? Is it symmetrical, meaning same size whiskers? Skewed left, meaning the left whiskers screwed up or skewed up. It's bigger. Or skewed right. So look at the whiskers. This whisker is from 12 to 17, so that's 5. This whisker is from 23 to 28, which is also 5. Since they're the same, we say the whiskers are symmetrical, which means the distribution is also symmetrical. Okay, for this part, The reason we see the most mistakes is because you're not reading the question. Sometimes it says what percent, and sometimes it says how many is that? What percent, how many? Now, for the percent questions, it's easy because all you need to do for that, let me get rid of that, is just look at where you wrote your 25s. So it says, what percent of the chips cost between 17 and 23? So between 17 and 23. Well, how many 25% do you see? 2. What's 25 plus 25? 50. So that's why we wrote 50%. Now it says how many. The biggest reason we see kids don't do well on this part is because you never read the question, like I didn't either. The box and whisker plot represents the cost per ounce of 32 different potato chips. Now, here's the easiest way of doing it. Do you see how there are 4 sections? 1, 2, I'm just going to label them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if those are 4 equal sections, all you have to do is do 32 divided by 4, which means there are 8 different potato chips brands in this section. 8 here, 8 there, 8 there. So now, here's what you could do. It says, how many of the chips are between 17 and 23? Well, here we go. We're going back to 17 and 23. 17 and 23. How many 8s do you see? 2. What's 8 plus 8? 16, and there's your answer. The real way of doing it, let me get rid of all this junk. There's a lot of junk here. Ew. So how's everybody's day? Great. Are you having a rough day? I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, it's beautiful again. So all you have to do is, if you want to show the math, there are 32 brands of potato chips. Times we just figured out in the last question that makes up 50%, so just make it a decimal. 32 times 0.50 is 16, and there's your answer. Okay, the next question, what percent of chips are between 23 and 28? Go back to where you labeled it, between 23 and 28. What percent is that? 25%. And there it is. Then all you have to do is say, well, what's 32 times 0.25, because it was 25%, and you get 8. Again, if you don't want to do it that way, remember, each section, there's 8 brands of potato chips. So there's only 8 brands. So that could have gone near your answer too, and there's your answer. Okay, just label it. It really helps. Okay, number 10, here comes the two-way tables. This was the part where you couldn't really use your calculator. So in number 10, in a survey, citizens of Joss and Cath, what interesting counties, were asked whether they voted yes or no on building a new courthouse. The table shows the results. The first thing you should always do when you get a two-way table is finish it. Now, I get that there's no extra columns there, so you can add them. Put total. Here, I'm even going to finish it so it really looks nice. How beautiful. So remember, when you go to the outside, you add. So you're just going to add across, add down, add down. You add to the outsides. And you know you added correctly because 41 plus 67 gets you 108, and 73 plus 35 gets you 108. So now you can answer the questions. So how many citizens of Joss were there? Did it ever talk about yes or no if they voted no? It just says how many people in Joss are there. So you go to where it says Joss, you go all the way to the bottom, and it says 41. And there's your answer, because it didn't matter if they voted yes or no. I just wanted to know how many people were in Joss. Okay, the next question says, how many citizens voted yes? Did it ever say voted yes in Joss? No. Did it ever say voted yes in Cath? No. It just said how many people voted yes. So go to where it says yes. Go all the way to the end. And there it is. 73 people voted yes. Again, if it's talking about one thing, go all the way to the end. Now, in the next one, if it's talking about 2 different things, how many citizens of Cath voted no? That's 2 different things now. So now you got to look to where they meet. Cath and voted no. Where did they meet? They meet right here at 9. So that means 9 citizens of Cath voted no. So you just got to find where they meet. It's like a multiplication table. No. Oh my goodness. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, here we go. The next one. How many citizens of Jos voted yes? So here we go. Jos and voted yes. Where did they meet? At 15. And there's your answer. So those are pretty easy. It's the next one that gets really, really, really annoying. So these are called relative frequencies. Again, meaning we're going to write them as decimals. Okay? So the first thing you should do is, even though they didn't, the first thing I would do is finish this table up here. I would finish it because I think it will make your life easy. So add down, 20 plus 15 is 35. Add down, you get 35. Add across, you get 42. Whoop. And 15 plus 13 is 28. And you know you did it right because 35 plus 35 is 70. And 42 plus 28 is 70. You need that total. Now, the worst thing you could do right now is take these numbers and copy it right there. Why would we ever ask that? That would be such a silly question to just say, can you copy the numbers? Why? This isn't first grade. So you actually have to do some math. I know, a shame. Who would have thought you do math in a math class? So all you have to do is, do you see how it says 20 here? All you have to do is do 20 divided by 70. So when you do 20 divided by 70, you get 0.285. Remember, if it's 5 or more, raise the score. You write it to 2 decimal places. So instead of writing 0.28, write 0.29. And that's why you write that there. Okay? So again, all you're doing is you're taking whatever these numbers are, and you only have to do it for these 4, and you're dividing it by the total. So 20 divided by 70 is 0.29. 15, I'm sorry, I didn't say 20, I meant 70. 15 divided by 70, you get 0.21. Now take the 22. Oh my goodness. Take the 22. 22 divided by the total. So you're just taking the numbers that are in the boxes and dividing it by the total. And then 13. Take 13 divided by the total, which is 70, and put it there. Okay, so that's where all the numbers are coming from. Now, for these numbers, the marginal relative frequency, since they're on the margins, all you have to do is add across like we were doing with the other tables, and then add down and add down. 0.29 plus 0.31 is 0.60. I would always write it to 2 decimal places because a lot of kids get confused when you write 0.6. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, so I'm going to erase this because it's confusing. Okay. So again, all you're doing is adding, 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 and adding. You know you did it right because when you add 0.50 plus 0.50, you get, come on, stylus. You can do it, buddy. I believe in you. There we go. You get 1. If you add 0.60 plus 0.40, you get 1. If this number is not 1, you did something wrong. Okay, so now it asks questions. What percent? To turn these numbers into percents, just swoop the decimal twice. What percent of students prefer water? Did they ever mention if they were boys or girls? No. So again, let me get rid of all this trash. Oh my God. Okay. So what percent of students prefer water? Go to water. It didn't talk about boys or girls, so you go all the way to the end, and there it is, 60%. And that's your answer. The next one says, what percent of students surveyed were boys? Again, it didn't care if it was water or juice. It just said boys. So go to boys, go to the bottom, since it was only talking about boys. I don't care about water or juice. And there it is, 50%. The next part. Now, here comes 2 things. What percent are girls who prefer juice? So that's 2 different categories. Girls who prefer juice. So see where they meet, and they meet right there at 0.19. So write 19%. And then the last one of these before we do the most difficult question, that is going to be the number one wrong question all the time. What percent of students are boys who prefer water? So again, two different categories. Boys who prefer water. And there it is, 0.29, so you write 29%. The last one is different. And here's why the last one is different. Come on, go away. Work. Come on. There we go. Okay. Here's why you know the last one is different. Ew. All right. So, you write, given a student is a boy. Whenever you see the word given, you should be very careful. Also, if you see conditional, you know it's going to be harder. So now, this is why this question is more difficult. Because a lot of kids will just do this, and this is wrong. If you just say, oh, I see the word boy, I see the word juice. Boy and juice, yay, 21%. That's wrong. Because here's why the question is worded differently. Come on. There we go. It says, given a student is a boy. So that means I only care about the boys. I'm sorry, girls. But in this question, I only care about the boys. So it says, given that you're a boy. Now, this is why you need to use this two-way table. How many boys were there? There were 35 boys. Yes, there were 35 girls, but I don't care about those 35 girls. It says, given that they're a boy. So meaning, out of the 35 boys, so that's the new total. Whenever you see the word given, that means there's going to be a new denominator, a new total. So given a student is a boy, out of those 35 boys, how many prefer juice? So out of these 35 boys, 15 of them prefer juice. So then all you have to do is do 15 divided by 35, not 15 divided by 70, because that would include the girls, given that they're a boy. So out of the 35 boys, 15 of them prefer juice. So when you divide that, you get 0.43. Now, it never said percent, so you can either leave it as 0.43, you could write 43%. Now, the reason you see this part over here, I'll do it in a different color, is some kids use the decimal versions. They say there's 50% that were boys and 0.21 of them prefer juice. So if you divide that, do you see how you get a number that's slightly different? If you pick either one of these answers, it's correct. Personally, I like this better. Take it with the actual numbers, not the relative frequencies. And that was the first part of statistics. So I hope this video helped. I hope you guys do great on the graded assignment, and I look forward to making more videos for you guys. What's crazy to think about? There's not that many left. Crazy. Good luck, guys. Bye.